Programming, a world where counting starts from 0 not 1. If you are not into programming and you point this as a mistake made by a programmer, then be ready to see a sarcastic, angry young man look of a programmer throwing a paper or stone at you. Programming is one of the funniest, hardest and easiest thing to do in the world. A semicolon, a bracket, a loop and a lot of small and big things matter a lot in coding, and you might have definitely experienced your silly mistakes, especially in the initial phase in programming. Mistakes are part of coding and every programmer makes tons of mistakes, especially as a beginner, but that's how they grow and become a good developer. We are going to discuss some most common mistakes that programmers make during the initial phase of coding, but these are not limited. It's good to be aware of these mistakes and not to do the same while learning to code. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe if this video was helpful. It encourages us to keep creating tips like this. 1. Learning too many programming languages, frameworks, and technology. This is one of the common mistakes that most of beginners make when they start learning to code. They think that it's impressive to have Java, C++, Python and a lot of more language, frameworks or technology to showcase to someone or to mention in the resume, but that's actually not the sign of intelligence if you don't have command or in-depth knowledge in any one of them. Learning Java for 15 days and switching to Ruby just because Java is tough or there is another reason, then you will eventually end up with lots of confusion. It's good to have knowledge of multiple languages, but we highly recommend you to focus on a single language in the beginning. Once you are experienced, you won't face difficulty in switching to another language. If you do this mistake, then after a couple of years you will realize you aren't master in any single language. 2. Comparison, self-doubt, and fear. It's human nature to compare ourselves with others all the time. That's the case in programming as well. You see a talented programmer who is good at solving the problems and making things work too fast. You start doubting and questioning your capability, which is not good. Some people are good at picking up the concept very easily and some people take time, but slow learning is completely okay if you take interest in coding. Programming might be scary for you sometimes, and beginners go through the phase when a voice in the head always say, "I am not smart enough to solve the problem. I have a wrong type of brain," and a lot of things make them feel insecure and make them realize that they are not capable enough to code. When you have self-doubt on yourself, always remember that you need to face it with courage and you need to be fearless. Programming is the field of taking the challenge and helping others by solving their problems, but before that, do yourself a favor and help yourself first. Identify your strength and be thankful for it. Identify your weakness and work on that by taking help from others, watching tutorials or joining a programming community. 3. Writing messy code and ignoring code quality. An experienced programmer can easily spot a beginner looking at their code format. Some of the mistakes that beginners make in formatting code are no proper indentation in code, inconsistent use of new lines and white space, or putting everything in a single line, writing function that is too big, or putting everything in a single line, function or file, bad variables and functions name. Example, name of variable or function absachtisch doesn't make any sense. They use small case and large case variable names randomly, not commenting or over-commenting the code. As a beginner, it's good and exciting that your code is running and giving the desired output, but what if you hand over this messy code to someone else and he or she needs to maintain or continue it? It will become annoying for that person. He or she would face difficulty in understanding your code, loops or conditionals in it. Programming is not about just writing code and making it work. Your code should be clean, readable and maintainable as well, so always try to write well-structured code. Always code as if the guy who ends up maintaining your code will be a violent psychopath who knows where you live. Martin Golding. 4. Writing code without plan. A lot of beginners in excitement skip the thinking, research, and planning stages of a project and start writing code right away. They do not understand the problem requirements, limitations, and do not think about all the case scenarios. What's the input and what should be the output? In programming, developers spend only 10% of the time writing code. Rest of the time they think, plan, research, and discuss the complete project. A beginner should go with the flow in a sequence of think, research, plan, write, validate, and modify, so they should follow some basic things before writing the code to avoid any issue or disaster at the production level. Understand the problem requirements and limitation. Do some research and experiment to find out which data structure is good to solve the problem. Plus, make writing algorithms and drawing flowcharts be a hobby. No backup for work. This is one of the blunder mistakes any programmer can make, especially as a beginner. Think about a situation when you have put so much effort in making a project and after 2 weeks you find that the disk crashed in your system where all your files were saved. You have also lost your work. In development, there is no one who is going to listen that you have lost X amount of work just because your system or a part of the system got crashed. You can't give any excuse in this case, and that's the reason every beginner or programmer should have this habit to keep backup of their work at regular intervals. Learn to use source control, GitHub, or you can also take the help of Dropbox, which is a cloud service to save your work in no time. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe if this video was helpful.